In this lecture, I'm going to talk about the difference between actions, animations, motion, and advanced, those two tabs. Sometimes it can seem like everything's spread all over the place and you're not quite sure where to go in CreateStudio. Well, I'm going to try to give a little definition. By the way, one of the reasons for that is that there are multiple ways to do things, and some things can get modified by other things. So you're justified in your confusion. Hopefully by the end of this lecture, your confusion will be gone. So let's jump over to CreateStudio and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here we are in CreateStudio. Let's create a new project and we'll call it, let's call it everything, since I'm not quite sure what to call it. And we'll move the resolution up to 1080p, and I still like white, so let's go there. And here we are in the new project. Now let's begin by adding a character. So I'll go to Studio, and let's go to Characters, and how about 3D, and let's add the penguin. Now once again, this is a advanced character, or what is it, the one-time everything license, I think it's called, something like that. That if you don't have that, you won't have access to this character. Sorry about that. But it doesn't matter what character you pick. Now notice once I add this character, it's on the timeline for a particular amount of time. What is this? 1.5 seconds. And it has an action of idle. You cannot extend. Notice I try to drag the character bar. I cannot extend it without adding the actions. Now this seems a little perplexing and bizarre at first, but then when you think about it, how can you have a character without him performing some action? At least idle. So if I want to increase the length of this bar and have the character on the screen for longer, I've got to add another action, and I can do idle. Now notice he's up to 3 seconds. Because he's got 2 idle actions. So that's actions. They're applied only to characters. And what they do is they define what the character is doing while it's on the screen. Now, actions are very powerful. There's a lot of actions. Look, happy, idle, fun, corner, all kinds of stuff. So this is where the real power of animating a character comes from, is from actions that you apply to the character. Now at the same time that we've got actions here, notice that we've got animations. Let's click on the little plus bar. What's the difference between actions and animations? Well, animations allow you to change like the shape, the position, the scale, the rotation, the skew, the color, border, all of these things of a character while actions are going on. So if I want to move a character, let's have him idle, and we'll move him, and notice I get the animation bar. Let's stretch that out a little, and let's say we want him to start here, and he's just going to kind of slide because I don't have a walk action. Pick appropriate actions, by the way, for the animations that you're using. And now, if I stretch this out, and I have 2 idles, he's going to move across the screen. So, animations are kind of a little advanced. Now, by the way, notice how he sped up and slowed down there? So pick your custom animation and be sure you play with easing and get what you want. Most often, and I'm kind of disappointed they don't have linear as the default, because that's what I use most of the time, and I think most people do. So now he'll move smoothly across the screen. He's skating on ice, I suppose. So that's animations. I can apply both animations and actions to a character. Now what about motion? Let's bring in something else like text. Well, text. There we go. And we'll select this text and we'll make it black so we can see it. Let's move it out of the way. Now, text can have one of the things that's really popular to do with text, or even actually with a character, is to add motion to them. So you come up here, past settings, to motion, and look at all these motions. I can slide in, I can zoom, and they do in, out, and loop. Now, most of the time I use in and out or in or out. And let's try an in and out of a slide from left to right. The other way around. There we go. So when I do that, now when I play this animation, it slides in and then it slides out. So this is a way to introduce elements to the screen. That's what I find it's primarily useful for. It's a quick way. You don't have to go through the whole animation thing and position the character before and after. You just say slide, or you just say zoom. Now notice this too. So let's zoom up and down. There we go. Whoop, let's get on there. What happened? So we go zoom up and down. Now notice how our animations did scale up and scale down. So they changed. You can only have one of these motions at a time on an element. So that's one of the restrictions. If I come down here, let's add yet another element. Let's bring over the, he's a reindeer. I always thought he was an elk. But if I take, let's zoom in, this guy, and I've got idle, and then I do animations, I can do multiples. So for instance, I can have a position and a scale and a rotation. So unlike the motions where you just have one on in and one on out, I can have multiples during the whole things. And once again, how do you configure this? Make sure that your animation is within the character bar. It's inside of it, so that you can select the character and be to the left of the animation, and you can select the character and be to the right of the animation. But what did we have? That's our animations again. We had position, scale, and rotation. So let's go for position. On the left, he's here. On the right, he's here. Now, I prefer these animation things, animations here, to the in and outs. Now, the in and outs of the motion is really a quick way to add animation. So I use it a lot, yes, but then if I really want to get into detail and I want to control everything, I come down here to animations, primarily because I can do multiple things. Now, I've already forgotten again because I'm talking. So we have rotation, scale, and position. So I can take his scale on the left, click him again, and I can make him small, and then on the right, he grows and he becomes big. So notice he's moving and he's growing. And I can also take his rotation. So I can bring him over here, and I can rotate him to here, and as he moves from left to right, he will grow and rotate and move. So I can do multiple things with animations. Now, I find animations to give me a lot more control than in and outs or motions, but motions are quick. And once again, actions are the primary things that you apply to characters to have them do things. Now, what's advanced? Advanced is all of the kinds of features that you can add to an element. So there are things like applying a border, applying a shadow, skewing, color rotation, and so on. So there are these enhancements that you can provide to or that you can apply to a character. So there we go. We've got actions, animation, motion, and advanced. The four things. And now that we've gone through this lecture, I hope that you have a better understanding of the separation of the four. In the next lecture, we're going to look at how to improve CreateStudio performance's stability. I'll see you there.